Maxwell Keith was born on July 16, 1924, in Pasadena, California. He served in the Army Air Forces during World War II and graduated from Princeton University in 1946 with a degree in economics. He attended Loyola Law School and passed the bar in 1953. Maxwell worked as a deputy district attorney for several years before entering private practice with attorney Grant B. Cooper. In 1960, Keith took over for Cooper as chief counsel for Dr. R. Bernard Finch, a Los Angeles area physician that was accused of killing his wife. Keith is quoted about that case saying that this was the trial of the century. Of its day. Finch ended up being convicted, but Maxwell Keith was able to make a name for himself, and sources state that this was how he ended up being appointed to the Manson case. Maxwell Keith was placed as Leslie Van Houten's lawyer after her other lawyer, Ronald Hughes, went missing during the late months of 1970. Appointed in December of 1970, Keith had over 18,000 pages of court documents to read and was placed right before the closing arguments. When Ronald Hughes went missing, there was a motion for mistrial, which Judge Older denied. Leslie Van Houten denied Maxwell Keith at first, wanting to fire him almost immediately. Maxwell Keith would be the first and only one of the defense attorneys to pinpoint Charles Manson as the mastermind for the murders. It was clear from the start that he was representing his client and not Manson, Vincent Bugliosi recalled. In 1971, Van Houten and the others would be convicted and given the death penalty. This was commuted to life in 1972. In 1971, Keith would also represent Tex Watson at his trial. Watson ended up being convicted of the murders that he committed. Watson remembered Keith in his book as a chain smoker and looking exactly how a lawyer should look in his mind. Interestingly enough, he doesn't mention Keith really after that. Leslie Van Houten would be granted a retrial later in the 70s, with the first trial resulting in a hung jury. She had another trial in 1978, which tried to use the contention of diminished capacity. The idea was that Leslie was so high on drugs or messed up from substances that she couldn't and shouldn't be held accountable, or as accountable, for the crime she committed. Maxwell represented her for these trials also, though she still ended up being convicted. In 1995, Maxwell Keith retired. In March of 2012, the exact date is not exactly known. One source said March 5th, but then they also got the year wrong of when he died. But in March of 2012, Maxwell Keith passed away in Templeton, California, after convalescing from pneumonia. He was 87 years old.